Hi, Andy Nelson. I was recently asked if there is such a thing as a poor man's copyright. So, what is that? This is something that goes back quite a ways in terms of a concept, and something I heard as a kid, even, which is if you draft, the new novel, or the next, greatest screenplay or what have you, you want to make sure that you immediately put it in an envelope, a copy of an envelope, and send it to yourself and don't open the envelope. So it bears a postmark, and if you ever get into a dispute with somebody else later who claims they created this item before you did, you've got indisputable proof that you were the first to create, and therefore you are going to be in the driver's seat later. Okay, is that true? Maybe on some certain level. If that really were to occur, if someone really did come in later and say, I created this, not you, I suppose it's possible that that piece of evidence, your envelope containing this with a postmark, could help. I suppose it could do that. So in that case, but I don't know. I don't know why it would be called a poor man's copyright. It's just a piece of evidence in case you get in a dispute with somebody. What a copyright does, if you haven't seen a video of mine before or don't otherwise know, is it is a property right. It's an intellectual property right that attaches to creations, expressive works, and it could be photography, as in photographs. It could be sculpture, graphic art, fine art, literary works, screenplays, right? It could be novels. It could be poems. It could be, what am I forgetting? It could be musical notation. It could be the lyrics that you write. I mean, it's a lot of different things. Expressive works fit or really enjoy their protection, if any, through copyright. And that copyright attaches as soon as your work is complete, as soon as you create it, as soon as you affix it to paper or digitally or what have you. It's not just in your head. The copyright comes into being and you are protected by copyright. And that costs you nothing. It's zero, right? So this poor man's copyright thing is really more of an evidence issue if you kind of get into dispute with somebody later about who created something. But on that note, please know that just because you create this awesome manuscript or whatever, and you create it before somebody else, doesn't mean that you've got the right to exclude someone else from creating a similar kind of product or expressive work, because your copyright protects what you create and it protects people from copying your work. But if somebody independently creates something that's very similar to yours, they also own a copyright in their work, and that's not an infringement of yours just because it's similar to yours. They have to actually copy it. It has to be substantial similarity based on copying. And that's often shown by access. Obviously, if you create something and you put it in a drawer, nobody ever had access to it. So how could you ever claim that they copied it, right? So obviously, distribution or access, publication is going to increase the chances that you're going to show that somebody else copied. So let's say it's that situation. You create it, you published, or maybe in the grand sense of publishing, or even in the smaller sense, but there's circulation of your work. Somebody else creates something that's substantially similar. You're looking at it going, geez, that is awfully a lot like mine. And you say, you're infringing my copyright. There's no way you could have independently created that. And they say, I've been thinking, I created pieces of this long ago before you did. And you get in that kind of dispute. Certainly, I suppose it's conceivable that that envelope you've got that has your work in it, that's definitely a date way before this other person even claims to have created, theirs might help. And that probably would help. It's probably a pretty good piece of evidence so long as it can be authenticated and there's no other issues with it. But I don't know how the fact that it's called a poor man's copyright, it's a little bizarre to me. It's more of a piece of evidence. Copyright itself is kind of a poor person's copyright. It's free anyway, right? So that's not to say that there aren't expenses that could be incurred in connection with your expressive work. I won't cover that in this video, but registering your work with the Copyright Office, Library of Congress, could in fact enhance your rights greatly, especially if you're going to have that awesome novel that's going to be copied by somebody, or awesome whatever that could be infringed by somebody else. It doesn't mean they just duplicated it. Someone might really take your core concepts, your expression, and adapt them, what have you. That still could infringe your copyright, and that is your property right. And so that registration could really put you in a much better position to resolve the issue with that Johnny come lately, right, who copied, infringed your copyright. Registration, I won't cover that here, but it does give you enhanced rights. And actually, removes barriers, some barriers to actually resolving that dispute with a third party. So anyway, I hope that helped clear this up. If you have any questions about this video, drop me a note, drop comment below. If somebody else would benefit from the contents here, please feel free to share it. And with that, until the next one, have a good one.